Trey comes off a pick to the right side, swirls through the lane to the top and laid it up and in. Coming from right to left and finishing on the left side, Trey Burke for two. Good night for Trey. We'll talk about that. We'll dig deep on the Utah Jazz. Looked into Favors post-play and then an NBA 5. Something strange is going on in the NBA. What is it? It's all coming up on today's edition of Tip-Off. Ow. How are you? It is at least being recorded on March 26th. When you're listening to it, I have no idea. I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz. And Jazz NBA Insider, if you're new to this, I wake up every morning, I have a cup of coffee with you. People complain they can hear me slurp. And then then we talk a little NBA. We talk 5 minutes usually about the national scene, and then we dig into the Utah Jazz. That's kind of the way it works. So if you're just a national fan, you can tip in and grab it for the beginning and then leave us, but why would you want to do that? Our team's very interesting. So that's the way it works. Season tickets for the Jazz, if you're in Utah, are available for next season. There's a lot of good deals available on that. They're going well. We've had the last few nights have been sellouts, so hope to get you on board and in the arena. I've mentioned Leap and Leaners to you before, but that's still worth the look at utahjazz.com. It's a charity event we put on, but it's the best. If you want to give your kids a treat, the interaction your kids will have with the players will be something they'll never, ever, ever forget. So if you got a hooper in your family, I know it's expensive, but remember it all goes to charity, and I promise you it is well worth it. So go to utahjazz.com, look for Leap and Leaners, and you'll find that. Again, let me remind you, I sat down, did a 22-minute interview with Derrick Favors. I do very much appreciate there were a lot of tweets. I have to go dig in and see if I can find them to retweet some of them and get them out there. I don't know if I can, but if you get a chance, if you listen to that, you like it, and you send a thanks to Derrick, that's appreciated. I think that's important. Hopefully he checks his mentions. I have no idea if he does, but thank you guys so much for those who have done that. And really thanks to Derrick. I thought it was a fabulous interview, and I hope you've enjoyed that. So that's where we stand right now. There's no more time for small talk. Let's just jump right in.
This is Ian Clark, and you are Locked On Jazz.
Well, thank you, Ian. A nice job last night, busting a three, getting the opportunity to play a little bit last night. Lots of stuff going on in the NBA. Overall, right now, the NBA feels very strange to me. And what I mean by that is some teams are playing well, other teams aren't. There seems to be this up and this down. We have 12 games left. Teams should be clicking in, but I almost wonder if because we extended All-Star break 5 days and we're stuffing these games into 5 fewer days, if there's a higher exhaustion level that's going on that's leading to inconsistent play. I'm not sure, but it just feels strange. Now, last night was a historic night in the NBA because the road team won in every game except for San Antonio blowing out Oklahoma City. The Spurs beat Oklahoma City 130-91. Spurs were playing on the back end of a back-to-back, having played Dallas the night before, and they blow them out 130-91, which is a real stunner. Oklahoma City's just been pushing so hard they may have just run out of gas, and that's kind of what I'm talking about, that maybe we've just put in so many games. But in the meantime, we just kind of are having very few teams are playing with a great deal of consistency. Cleveland is, Golden State is. Maybe they're just better than everyone else. Atlanta broke their losing streak last night. Houston got Dwight Howard back and then held on to beat New Orleans in New Orleans 95-93. Anthony Davis last night played 44 minutes, but may have had a little shoulder twinge. We'll see how that plays out with that. New Orleans just is not good enough. They're just not winning enough games to make the playoffs. I mean, that's just a bad loss. I know Howard and Houston are good, but you have to win at home in the last 15 games of the year if you're gonna win, frankly. And they didn't, and they're not. And they have Ashik back, and so Dwight Howard, by the way, played minimally. He had 7 rebounds. He had limited impact on the game along the way. Monty Eunice had 21 in that game. He is still the singularly most underrated player in this league. So I don't know what it is, but it feels like that it's hard to figure out who has clicked in, who hasn't. Chicago, it's a big win last night that makes you they win in Toronto that makes you say, all right, there's 3 teams in the East that are really competing for this thing. Atlanta, Cleveland, and Chicago is the way it feels. But really, Chicago's 5-5 in their last 10. They're getting healthier. Toronto can't click in. Washington can't click in. None of the other teams matter. Memphis got blasted again last night. They got really blasted by Cleveland. They're just 6-5 in their last 10. Portland is not a championship contender. Last night's performance by Portland actually, to me, I'm sure Portland fans are very happy they got a win, but it would be very disconcerting to me if I was a Blazer fan. They should be able to walk into Utah, even on a back end of back-to-back, having lost 5 in a row, desperate, without Gordon Hayward, Rodney Hood, and Alec Burks playing, and blast Utah, and they didn't. So anyway, the Clippers are still kind of hanging out there. Clippers have won 5 in a row, and nobody's buying into them. Clippers have the second best differential in the NBA, and nobody's buying into them. I wonder if we're missing on the Clippers. I wonder if they're better than we realize. You know, they did win a first-round playoff series last year. It was against the Warriors. We didn't have Bogut. Don't know. But I really do feel like strange stuff is going on. Give Doc Rivers the ultimate why does everybody love Doc Rivers so much moment last night. He claimed after the game he was sick after the Clippers beat New York by 40, and then had Mike Woodson, the former Clipper head coach, go talk to the media so that he could have his day in the sun. Excuse me, the former Knick head coach go talk to the media with the New York media after he got fired by the Knicks in the offseason. So pretty good one there. Yesterday on the show, we did the expected effective field goal percentage of players based on when they shoot. I'm still working on it. I think there's something to it, frankly. I thought the findings were a little interesting yesterday, at least on Trey Burke, that you have, that his expected effective field goal percentage based on when he shoots in the shot clock is 46, and so I think he's shooting at 43, which is low, but it's not 7 points below average the way you would think it is. It's actually it's actually a little less. It's 3 because of that. Now, I'm not sure all the numbers are lining up correctly. There's some weird stuff that all of the players that I have looked at are under 50% when the league average is 50%. So I'm going to try to keep it. I did get the other day, somebody emailed me, I think it was at dlock09 at Yahoo, or dlock09 at gmail.com, and they asked for Russell Westbrook. And frankly, you know what? You're more than welcome to continue to send this to me because Andy Larson of Salt City Hoops was nice enough to kind of give me the league averages. So now we have that. And you know what? That's probably the best way at this point to ask me some information, because there's no other really defined way to figure out these answers. So I will try to run that for you coming up here. I tried to run it earlier. Something didn't go exactly right on the process, so I'm not entirely sure why, and so I'll have to go look in to see what was what didn't work or why it didn't work, or anyway. Oh, I know what's wrong with it. Now I found it. I ran it right before the show. But I do like that. If somebody wants to send me suggestions, I will run those players' numbers. That's kind of the point where what I came up with on the Russell Westbrook front, by the way, I thought was interesting. Russell Westbrook's expected effective field goal percentage is 40, from what I found, is 49.6 from when he shoots, which is interesting because what we have now is I've done 5 players. And for those who did not catch this yesterday, the concept is that wherever you spreadsheet for you. Whenever you wherever you shoot in the shot clock has an expected value. So if you shoot from 15 to 18 on the shot clock, the league average is 51.3 effective field goal percentage. 7 to 15 is 48.6. And if you look at Trey Burke's using 28% of his possessions in the final 7 seconds of the shot clock. James Harden is using, who's high, James Harden is at 21.3. I'm interested, I was talking to Ben Dowsett and Andy Larson about this before the game of Salt City Hoops. Ben said that Trey Burke was third highest in the league in the last 7 seconds. I can't imagine anyone's higher. I can't even imagine it's close, frankly. So I'll have to go check the site he was using on that. I think it was NBA Savant or something like that. But the fact is that Trey Burke's 28.2% of his possessions he is using them in the worst time of the game to shoot. And he's not that far off. In 4 to 7 seconds left in the shot clock, his average is 46.2. Trey's at 44. 0 to 4, the average is 39.6. Trey's at 36.5. So when you suddenly go look at Trey, his expected effective field goal percentage based on when he takes his shots, it's only 46.1. Gordon Hayward is using 21% of his possessions late. His expected effective field goal percentage is 47. Okay, so there's those are low. Those numbers are much lower. Contrast that to Steph Curry, who shoots only 7% of his possessions in the final 7 seconds, and he uses most of them in the middle or early. His expected effective field goal percentage is 49.7. Well, that's what I found on Russell Westbrook as well. Russell Westbrook, as you see, only uses 12% of his possessions in the final part of the shot clock, uses most of them early, and his expected effective field goal percentage is 49.66. On the Westbrook debate, Westbrook already is a little questionable whether he's efficient or not. Now you suddenly find out he's using shot clocks even earlier. His effective field goal percentage for the year is 45.4, and what we're saying is based on when he shoots, it should be 49.6. Huh? Is that right? So I gotta dig into this a little bit more, because that's pretty interesting. If that's really defined there, then Russell's far less efficient than we even realize. I mean, there's already a criticism of Russell that he's not particularly efficient, and you have here the fact that he should be shooting, because of when he's shooting, a dramatically better percentage than he is. So I'm going to continue to work on it, but my point is, if anybody wants to email me, this is the way. The flaw in this spreadsheet, the reason I probably won't be able to do a great deal with this work is, unfortunately, that the only way to do it that I have it set up right now is you just run a player, and I can just cut and paste one player and cut and paste it in. And so if you have a player that you think would be interesting, whoever said Russell Westbrook, that's fascinating to me. I got to dig into the numbers to see if it's right. By the way, on Steph Curry, his expected effective field goal percentage is 49.7. His effective field goal percentage is actually 58. All right, so Curry versus Westbrook. Now, Westbrook goes to the line more, which helps him out. But Curry's expected effective field goal percentage based on when he shoots on the shot clock is 49.7. It's actually 58. Westbrook's is 49.6. It's actually much lower. Pretty interesting, at least in my book. And then I think Harden comes out about exactly as he should. Harden uses some of his stuff early, some of his shot clock data early, but also has 20.3% of his possessions late. Like when they bail out, Harden takes particularly more difficult shots than Steph Curry. There's actually no way fairly to expect Harden to be as efficient as Curry because of when they shoot. His expected effective field goal percentage is 2.6 points lower than Curry's. Harden actually comes in at 50.8. So there you go. That was yesterday's project. We're going to keep working on it. You got my point. Go ahead and send me some stuff that you think would be interesting on that, and or players. I'll run them, and just kind of we'll continue to work on this together. It needs some work. I got to figure out some aspects to it that need some more work to it, but that's a work in progress.
Hi, Jazz Nation. This is Trey Burke. Thanks for being the best fans in the NBA.
Well, thank you, Trey, and he was quite good last night. Really a neat night for Trey Burke. He only took 1 3. He played inside his lane. Portland doesn't allow threes. Portland takes 28 a game, only allows you to shoot 18. It's a huge part of their game. It's why they're analytically the smartest defensive team in the NBA, and they've done some really neat stuff with that. And it worked for them last night. But Trey allowed that, took the shots he had, kind of made his running 5-foot layup, as Ron Boone's calling it, and I thought he played very well. The most impressive aspect to Trey is his bounce back ability. Now, the next step for Trey would be that he doesn't have to have as many bounce backs. But I would tell you that there are two aspects to this analysis of Trey. I mentioned this yesterday that lead me to believe that you better be careful about closing the door on him. His numbers right now are really, really poor, and every indicator. We'll put it this way. Trey's numbers as they stand right now, if they do not progress, if he does not develop, he is either out of the league or a backup. Okay, that's simple. That's not even a controversial statement. But the assumption that he's not going to improve at all is a big one. And so when you look at kind of two factors that I would say he has going for him, there's some factors he doesn't have going for him, but there's some factors he does have going for him. One is what we're talking about, is how late in the shot clock he has to take shots. His effective field goal percentage is 43.3. It's bad. But it's not, I always think about it bad compared to the league average being 50, but his average, based on when the shots happen, is 46.1. Ben Dowsett, as we talked about yesterday, pointed out that when he's wide open, he can't make a shot. Okay, that's ridiculous. That's so fixable. Like, to me, 6 feet wide open, he's shooting 37.2%. 4 feet to 6 feet open, he's shooting 36.8%. Like, that's so fixable. A little more strength, a little more fundamental, a little more work. It's not like he's scared of the work. Well, if he can go get that number back to a reasonable number, I mean, when he's got 4 to 6 feet of room, he's shooting 30% from three. Again, not deniable that doesn't cut it. And there's no question that Trey Burke's first, up to this moment, his numbers in his first, they're not good enough. But players progress. Point guards progress later than other players. Most players make their first big step in year 3, which is next year. And there's a lot of indicators that say if Trey's playing with better players so they can speed up their offense, if he works hard, of all things, if you told me that Trey, the only way Trey's going to survive in this league is if he figures out how to start going to the foul line more, I'd be like, I don't know about that. Like, that probably not going to happen. Like, that's a problem. He doesn't go to the foul line very much, and I'm not sure he's ever going to go to the foul line. He's not an elite athlete, and he's 6 foot, and I think that's going to be really, really hard for him. Now, you look at some guy like Damian Lillard, who in the last year has gone from 50% at the restricted area to 60%. That's a big deal. Can Trey do that? Sure, why not? Maybe not 60%, but a 10% jump for a player is enormous. Trey's at 47% in the restricted area. Now down to 46. Okay, that's not good enough. He's been really poor since the All-Star break. There's probably less room with Rudy and Derrick. He's going to have to figure out where he's going to be good. He's a 42% mid-range shooter. That's really good. Okay. His of the break three-point percentage is 30%. That's got to improve. But he's an 80% free throw shooter. Like, it's not like he doesn't have touch. So he's got to work on it. Fundamental. Get solid. Fix it. Get consistent. Okay. There we go. Right? That's the process and the progress that he may be able to make in his career. And last night's a big night because he played really well. He played in his lane. He figured out how to be successful, and he did a good job. And he led the Jazz on what I thought was a really good battle last night. I don't expect the Jazz to be able to win much of any game, frankly, without Gordon Hayward, Rodney Hood, and Alec Burks. You go 3 deep at a position of injuries, I think you're going to have a hard time winning a game. And I thought the Jazz played Portland about as well as they could, particularly then when you start to think about the fact that Portland had to win last night. Absolutely had to win last night. I thought the Jazz really, they did pretty good. The Jazz were playing Ian Clark and Jack Cooley together for 5 minutes last night. Come on, right? Like, we're pretty depleted. Our roster is not built to win now. Our roster is built as part of this progression, and there's weaknesses in it, and that's the reality. So anyway, I thought last night was a really good night. Andy Larson, I think, pointed out there's fewer touches, there were fewer passes. Right, we're not all the way there right now. But okay, pretty awesome. Pretty good approach. Nothing about last night's game that doesn't make me believe everything I've seen out of this team's effort and their progress being real. Nothing about that has fallen off. One thing I do think is interesting last night was how Portland guarded the Jazz. Coach Phil and I were talking about during the broadcast, Derrick Wright played the 4 late in the game, and it caused the Jazz some problems. Caused the Jazz a lot of problems. Defensively, in the fourth quarter, the Jazz collapsed, and Portland decided, Robin Lopez may be one of our best players. We're not playing Robin Lopez. We're not doing it. We're going to play Aldridge at the 5, and even though that means that we probably lose Aldridge because he's being guarded by Gobert, it opens up the rest of our floor, and we can't afford to play two bigs and have both Favors and Gobert in the paint. We just can't do it. So we're going to have to spread the floor, play it wide, and then if you, and then we're going to drive the lane, shoot threes, and make Favors play at 24 feet. This is what Memphis runs into every night, and we're going to have to figure out how to deal with it. That's the reality. But that's, when Robin Lopez was on the floor last night with LaMarcus Aldridge, they couldn't score. They scored 12 points in the first quarter, and they scored 18 points in the third quarter. If you go look at the game lineups last night, they could not score with that main lineup on the floor. The only way Portland could score last night, they shot, when they had Robin Lopez and Aldridge in the game, their starting lineup, they shot 9 of 27 last night. Yet, when they suddenly started playing Derrick Wright at the 4, on the bench unit, in the 2 main units that played Derrick Wright at the 4 last night, they shot 17 of 27 and 4 of 12 from 3. And were plus 20. That was the problem last night. Jazz didn't have an answer to what to do when Derrick Wright, who shot 600 threes in the last few years combined, when he's out there. All right, part of the process. I hate to say this, losing is not terrible right now. It really isn't. While Indiana, Charlotte, and Brooklyn are all battling and trying to win every night for make the Eastern Conference playoffs, we could slip from 12th to 9th in the draft. I'm not saying we should, but I am saying that wouldn't be the worst thing that's ever happened. Right? I mean, well, all right, let's take advantage of the fact that, at least for a minute, Eastern Conference is terrible, and so Brooklyn at 30 and 40, and Charlotte at 30 and 40, and Indiana at 31 and 40 are all within a half game of the playoffs, as insane as that is, and let's take advantage of it. And let them keep fighting to win to the final day, particularly Brooklyn, who Atlanta has their draft pick, and let's get the 9th pick instead of the 12th. And I would argue that on this year, that might be more important, particularly the 9th ends up being the 10th in all likelihood. But here's the one thought I have for you. If we're just drafting 12th, then we're most likely to keep the pick. It doesn't really matter. There's probably a player out there that has specific needs that we would like, that will be at 9, be at 10, be at 11, be at 12. We'll go grab them. But if the likelihood is we're going to trade the pick, being at 9 would be more important than ever before, because now there's 2 or 3 players. Every team has players they like, and all of them are trying to jump in somewhere to beat somebody else to the pick, and now your trade value goes up. So I would tell you that I think that it's actually, on a year in which you're likely to trade the pick possibly, that I think that actually becomes even more important. All right, final thing today, and I never know if this is going to work, so this is why I left it for last. I thought Derrick Favors was remarkable last night, and I thought there'd be some value to watching his 9 makes. Now, whether or not NBA.com actually has them all in there correctly, we'll see. But I think if we watch his 9 makes, you're just going to see an array of different plays. And here he is posting up on the right block, on a 7-1 Lopez. Bumping, backing, gets kick out. Now set the versatility and instead slides to the basket for a nice basket. All right, so there's his first make. So we saw early post, pass out, then play off the pick and roll. Nice play by Elijah. Let's go to the next one. Wait a second. There we go. All right, let's go to the next one. Another half-court set, because that's what we do. Not a lot of vigor in the cuts we're running on this play. Trey didn't start that one particularly well. Now Trey does a nice job trying to clear Favors. Okay, Dante drives, scoops underneath the Favors. That's a reverse side finish coming underneath. Basic play, available, good hands, there. Okay, so we've seen two. Those are created off other people's action. He's showing a nice ability to get that aspect to his game. And we move to the third. Now it's early post up again. Trying to get in on Lopez at 7-1. We don't have the greatest entry pass, so instead we'll go pick and roll. Dante brings it around. Favors makes himself available. Millsap finds him. We got a 15-foot jumper for a bucket. By the way, Elijah Millsap is into the Alec Burks dribble and then decided what I want to do. Quinn would, I think, far rather have him move the ball and then decide. One little developmental piece. Okay? So we've seen a catch down below. We've seen a pick and roll. We've seen a pick and pop. Favors, this time a right-hand drive to the rack from the left, finish on the right. That's a special play for a 6'10", 260-pound guy. The difference in all of these, the little differences we're seeing in all these different types of shots is what made last night impressive to me. And also the amount of things he does on an offensive set. Okay, now he's in the block. He's on Freeland, who's not as good a defender. I'm going to hold, I'm going to work, and I'm going to fade away to the baseline. Oh, that's filthy. So what are we at? We're at pick and roll through the middle of the lane, catch below the rim. We've got a jump shot. We've got a one-on-one move from angle right, and now we've got a fadeaway jumper. This is going to be just a ridiculous follow. This is just athleticism. Boom. All right. Fine. Then right there, you just got to play I'm bigger, stronger, better than all of you. I'm going to follow it up with a jam. Okay, what do we got here? Pick and roll right side, strong side. He'll go into the post on Lopez. Gobert trying to get it to him. Look at how hard Derrick worked. Look at that low post position. Lopez, good defender. All right, I'm just going to go hook shot to the middle. Oh, he's just doing everything. I mean, he's really just doing everything at this point. Okay, open side pick and roll right side. On the elbow, one-on-one, jab right, go with the left hand, fading away, fouled in the bucket. Are you kidding me? I mean, let's walk through it for a second. Watch that one again. It's just ridiculous. But walk through it for a second. We've got, I mean, this is ridiculous. Left pivot foot, left hand dribble into traffic, fading back with the right hand. How good are you? So what do we got so far? We've got a pick and roll, slide through the lane, agile slide through the lane. We've got a catch underneath the basket. We've got a mid-range jump shot. We've got a one-on-one move angled left going right hand to the middle, coming up on the reverse side. We've got a fadeaway jumper to the baseline from the left block. We've got a right angle one-on-one move with a left hand to the middle. 6 and a follow jam. 7 different ways to score. On a pretty good defender in Lopez on most of them. This is a neat play. Jazz run here. Favors. That is just pure muscle and power on the offensive glass. Okay. Just add that. That's what it used to be all he had. And there's one other where he rolled a hook to the middle. He got fouled. But it's not going to show up here because it wasn't a made shot. Okay, so we've got it all. We got a left-hand hook, a right-hand hook. An incredible array of offensive moves from Derrick Favors last night. That is tip-off. Hope you enjoyed. Talk to you soon.